In this tutorial, we're going to cover Photoshop CC 2020 using Photoshop custom shapes to create icons. Custom shapes are a little bit different in that they can be easily scaled where brushes cannot necessarily, so you can actually change them after you first create them. You can play with them a lot more. So let's go ahead and get started. You need to make sure you go ahead and download the assets. Today we're going to be working with 110 food and kitchen custom shapes. Once again, you cannot open the custom shapes, you got to install them first. So we're going to actually create 5 sets of icons with custom shapes. You can use in your publications and other work later. So for now, let's go ahead and go to Photoshop. Let's go File or Window. Make sure you're in Workspace Essentials. Let's go File and New. And let's go ahead and create some 1 by 1 inch pixels, icons, which means let's make an inch by an inch so we can scale them down. So first thing I'm going to do is change this to inches. I'm going to go ahead and change it to, I want it to be 1 and by 1, and I want it to be 300 because we're going to use this for publications later. RGB is fine, so we're going to go ahead and say create. It's going to make a perfect square for us. Now once we do that, let's do a file, save as, make sure you pay attention to where you're putting it. I'm going to put it in my custom shapes. I'm going to name it first initial, last name, underscore, let's see what I tell you I'll call it. Food icons. And we're going to go ahead and save it as a PSD file. We're going to save the PSD because we want it to be the layered file later on. So what we're really going to do is instead of setting up 5 or 6 different documents, we're going to set up one document with multiple layers to make this a whole lot easier. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we want to go to Window, and we want to go to Shapes. This is where we want to load and unload our shapes. It's not actually where we're going to use them from. So if you get to a point where you have some extras or something is going on and you can't find out where it is, go to that window first because I was having a few problems with this earlier. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to our Shapes panel. Let's go to the hamburger menu up on the right hand side. We want to come down to Import Shapes. Where Import Shapes is, we want to go find our file. So I know mine is in about 50 layers deep of files. And I want that .csh file. That is going to be my custom shapes file, and we're going to go ahead and say to load. So now at the bottom of my shapes file, I can now see I've got the 110 food and kitchen custom shapes. So for your publications, maybe you're doing something with food, maybe you're doing a travel guide, something, go ahead and these can help you quite a bit in creating those icons. Alright, so let's go ahead and close that for now. We're going to go ahead and go to our toolbar. We want to go to the custom shape, which is kind of the blob one at the bottom. As we're doing that, we want to go ahead and decide what we're going to create. So I'm going to go ahead and add an extra layer and create my shape on that layer itself. Now at the top, I want to make sure I'm creating a shape, not paths or pixels. I'm going to choose my fill color is black. If you want to change to a different color, go ahead. My fill color is black. I do not want it to have a stroke. And I want to make sure that I run over here and I want to choose a shape. So down for the shapes, I'm going to go to my 110 and I'm going to choose a shape that I want. So maybe because I want to tell people that we have wine available, I'm going to go ahead and choose this corkscrew. I'm going to go ahead and click out to the top and drag from one corner to the other this corkscrew. If I don't like it, I can always Control Z. If I hold Shift as I do it, it's going to control the proportion so I can't accidentally do funhouse anything. Let go of your mouse, then let go of your Shift key. So I'm pretty happy with that corkscrew. I now want to make another one. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my corkscrew, make another new layer. And let's go ahead into my custom shape. And now I need something that says that we serve, oh, how about beer? So we'll go ahead and choose the beer one. I'm going to hold that Shift key, hold down, and go over. Now it's not quite where I want it. I'm going to let go of my mouse, going to let go of my shift. I'm going to grab my move tool, I'm going to shift him over just a little bit. You see you get those automatic crosshairs that let you know when you've centered that in your icon. So what I would do is go ahead and draw the 5 different shapes that I wanted. Now say I wanted to have a background color on all these. The easiest thing to do is to come here to your background. Let's add a new fill layer, so a solid color, go to the half moon. And I'm going to go ahead and decide my publication is yellow. So maybe this is the color of my logo and this is what I really want to use. You can change that color right down here and match it. So now no matter which one I turn on, I'm going to automatically have that yellow color in the background. So now I can do a save, and it'll save the layered document with all those different layers in it. Now because I've got it with a colored background, I'm going to go ahead and save these each separately as a JPEG. So I'm going to go File and Save As. And I'm going to call this one Beer. And I want them to be JPEGs. And I'm going to go ahead and say Save. And go ahead and say Maximum. Now, if I wanted to make sure that it came through transparent so that it would show through and not have that border, I would make sure the background's turned off. I would do a File, Save As, and I would call it Beer Transparent. And you want to save it as a PNG in order to save that transparency. So you're going to go ahead and save that. So for this assignment, what you're going to do is go ahead and create 5 different food icons, 5 different types of icons. There's a lot of different ways you can get other shapes. Given you a bunch in Canvas. I'm in my custom shape tools. You can always go in here to your gearbox, and actually let's go to Window and Shapes and grab it that way. And if we go to the hamburger menu here, you'll see Legacy Shapes and More, which will actually give you a whole bunch of other versions of the shapes that they don't necessarily put, they hide them. They used to be really easy to find and now they're a lot harder to find. So that is how you will create the icons for the custom shape. And then you'll submit the 5 icons and the 1 PSD to Canvas. That's all for this one.